support to the social economy and to social entrepreneurship and to investment in social economy and social entrepreneurship. And then moving from the general framework to the most important examples of how exactly and concretely the EU supports these. And there it's basically split in two parts. One on regulatory framework, and the by now well-known label of the European Social Entrepreneurship Fund, which has just been adopted as a legislation. And then I will move to describe briefly the budgetary instruments that we have in the EU budget today, the Progress Microfinance Instrument, which you know, and the two EU-level instruments that will be available in the future period under the Program for Social Change and Innovation. And then I want to draw your attention definitely to the funding available under the European structural funds, which is not being spent directly from the EU level, which is being invested in a decentralized way through national and regional authorities. But this is a very, very large and significant source of investment, and I definitely want to draw your attention to this. And then in the end, by way of conclusion, I will just outline how you, as ethical and alternative banks and financiers, can engage with the EU instruments in the coming months. So, as you know, the fundamental objective of the European Union to create a highly competitive social market economy aiming at full employment, and to achieve an where economic efficiency go hand in hand with supportive considerations of social equity and broad-based prosperity. In the 10 years the EU has adopted in 2010 the so-called Europe 2020 strategy. This notion is summarized in the words inclusive growth. In fact, the Europe 2020 strategy, as you know, has three main objectives: smart, sustainable, and inclusive growth. And the idea is that, in fact, you cannot have a growth which is smart or sustainable if it's not inclusive. If the labor market is not inclusive enough, if you cannot have smart and sustainable growth if not enough people participate in the labor market, if not enough people have get the opportunity to access credit for developing their entrepreneurial activities. So, in its long-term development strategy, the EU has certainly recognized the importance of addressing social needs at the local levels, focusing on the needs of the real economy, and really enabling as many people as possible to participate in the economy, to participate in the creation of prosperity, and of course to enjoy the fruits of prosperity, to reduce inequalities. And it is very well recognized that social economy actors, social economy enterprises, or also newer forms of social enterprises play a very important role in this, and that financial intermediaries who focus on financing social economy enterprises or other forms of social enterprise, of course, play a very, very important role in providing credit, enabling the growth of this segment of the market. So I just listed on the slide several key policy documents where the role of social economy and social enterprise is highlighted. Of course, I listed the Europe 2020 strategy with its emphasis on inclusive growth. I then mentioned the Social Business Initiative, which the Commission put forward in 2011. It was a joint initiative of my commissioner, Laszlo Andor, for Employment and Social Affairs and Inclusion, Commissioner for the Internal Market, Michel Barnier, and Commissioner Vice President Antonio Tajani, responsible for Enterprise and Industry. So this is a strong alliance within the European Commission of the three commissioners most directly concerned with social economy and social enterprise, and this has been an important initiative aiming to step up European support for social economy and social enterprise. Then I would like to draw your attention to two more recent policy initiatives. One is the so-called employment package, which we adopted almost exactly 1 year ago. It sets out a vision of a stronger employment policy, of a broader range of measures aiming to bring people to work, in the context of the not only of the very prolonged economic crisis, but also in the context of longer term structural challenges like demographic aging, like technological change, like the increasing constraints on natural resources. So this employment package looks at the development of the green economy, at the development of the health and care sectors, at the development of the digital economy as prospective areas for job creation. It also emphasizes the need to boost social economy and social entrepreneurship in general, because these are really important drivers of job creation, often for people on the margins of the labor market. So this is the slogan of the employment package is towards a job-rich recovery, towards an exit from the crisis, which is not only seen in the growth in GDP, but also seen in growth in employment, which is not happening for the moment because the crisis is just dragging on. But it's definitely recognized by the European Commission that there needs to be a focused effort in supporting employment as a way of actually lifting the economy out of the economic crisis. So while Europe has to fix the monetary union, it also needs to invest a lot in bringing people to work and investing in addressing real economic and social needs. The latest policy document, which emphasizes the role of social economy and social enterprise, is the so-called social investment package, which was adopted 2 months ago. And this is kind of a vision of the European Commission for how the European welfare state can be modernized, or the welfare states, because there are many different models, of course, across Europe. But how the welfare state can be modernized to adapt to the reality of the 21st century, but to really enable everybody's participation in the society and in the economy, to develop human capital of everybody and to enable to connect all the people to the society. So it's about kind of an investment approach to all social expenditure, and it's about using innovative forms of delivering social services in a cost-effective way. And of course, as you understand, social enterprise is very much highlighted in this respect, and social economy. Let me now move to concrete examples of the policy instruments which the EU has to support development of social economy and social enterprise. You know, the recently adopted brand of a European Social Entrepreneurship Fund, EUSEF. It was already mentioned earlier this morning it was mentioned that some members of FEBE are already working towards creating investment funds which could use this brand. The EUSEF is basically it's a passport, or it's a passport for an investment fund which can enable this investment fund to operate throughout the European Union. So it's a brand for a fund which fulfills certain EU-wide rules and makes this fund therefore very, very transparent, very, very understandable for the investors. And so it's a clear standard through which the EU has tried to support the development of the market for financing of social enterprises. I have included here the link to the agreed text of the regulation. So when the presentation distributed afterwards, for those who have not yet referred to the text itself, you will be able to find it through the link which is there. But just to summarize very briefly, the main aspects of the regulation on the European Social Entrepreneurship Fund. The investment fund can use this brand if at least 70% of its volume is invested in social enterprises, and there are three main elements of the definition. Let's say, to put it simply. So the social enterprise in the definition used at the European level, and it's a definition which basically has been first put forward in the Social Business Initiative in 2011. You will find it in this regulation, and you will also find it in a very similar wording in some of the budgetary instruments that the EU has. But basically, the first element is that the social enterprise is a primary statutory objective. It has primarily a social mission and achievement of measurable positive social impacts. Secondly, it uses profits primarily to achieve this social objective. So it mainly reinvests its profits to advance this primary social objective. And thirdly, it is managed in an accountable and transparent way. Involves many of the people who are affected by its business activities, so that it's really inclusive in its governance. We try to put it in a very simple graph, whereby the foundations are the responsibility, transparency, participatory governance, but of course operation on the basis of an entrepreneurial model. Profits being mainly reinvested for the achievement of the social mission, with possibility to distribute some of the profits to shareholders, but not the majority of profits. And in case there is distribution of profits to shareholders, this has to be based on clear and transparent rules which are known ex ante. So this is just a graphic way of describing what I just had on the previous slide when it comes to the definition of the social enterprise as an eligible undertaking into which at least 70% of the European Social Entrepreneurship Fund have to be invested. So this is a market standard which has just been agreed at the European level, with the European Parliament and the Council of Ministers. There is a wide range of instruments through which such a fund can operate: equity, quasi-equity, loans. There is a restriction in terms of what it can do on the treasury side. So there is a limitation in terms of going into derivatives and these kinds of things. The exposure has to be limited to the level of committed capital, and there is a certain menu of impact measurement, because the first objective is to achieve measurable positive social impact. There are various dimensions in which this can be achieved. So the regulation has several possible dimensions on which this positive social impact can be measured. So this is the market standard which has just been agreed at the EU level. So that was the regulatory instrument for promoting greater investment in social enterprise. Let me now move to the budgetary instruments. So what the EU makes available in terms of money from the EU budget for the development of social enterprise and social economy across Europe. Today, we have the European Progress Microfinance Facility, and this is just a very simple scheme illustrating how it works. Sai from the EIF, who will have a presentation just after me, will be able to go into much greater detail on how it works. But I'm showing you this very basic structure because I also want to use it as a basis for explaining what there will be in the future. Basically, now at the left-hand side, you see an EU-wide facility covering 27 member states with some money from the EU budget, some money which has been provided which has been invested by the European Investment Bank. It all comes together to the amount of 203 million euros. It's managed by the European Investment Fund, and it is provided to national or regional microcredit providers, some of which are represented in the room, either in the form of guarantees or in form of funded investments ranging from equity to mezzanine to risk sharing to senior loans. And these national or regional microcredit intermediaries are then providing the actual microloans to the individuals. I simplified the scheme a bit, but this is essentially the basic structure. And I would like to highlight, yes, that this is of course complemented with some technical assistance and capacity building support for the microfinance intermediaries, so that we really develop the market because there is not all intermediaries in all the countries are equally well developed, equally ready. So the Jasmine initiative, about which will be also extensively discussed during later parts of this conference. This is a very important complement of this financing facility. For the future, for the next 7-year period in the EU budget, We will have two similar instruments. One for microfinance again, so let's say a second generation of microfinance support at the EU level, and then an instrument for social enterprise development. Both will be under the so-called Program for Social Change and Innovation. So this PSCI. This is a new program for 2014-2020 for which my Commissioner Andor, is responsible. And within that, we will have basically what the Commission proposed is to have 92 million for microfinance, 92 million for social enterprise. The actual budget, when it is agreed between the Council and the Parliament, might be a bit lower, but essentially, let's speak about 90 and 90, and this is what this is in terms of financing directly at the EU level, so comparable to today's Progress Microfinance. So, Progress Microfinance, the second generation, effectively, we are designing the instrument as we speak. We are designing it now, so that it is ready in 2014. But basically, the architecture will be quite similar. We are discussing with the EIB their possible co-investment alongside the EU budget, and again, there will be guarantee products, there will be funded investments, and there will be technical assistance and capacity building to microcredit providers, so that we continue building up the microfinance market to reach people who otherwise are not reached by the mainstream banks. Then, in terms of the new fund or facility available to support social entrepreneurship, this would have about 92 million from the EU budget. We are again discussing with the EIB and the EIF possibilities of EIB co-investment in this, and other players are interested also in co-investing into this scheme. Now the EIF already today has launched a European-wide fund where we are discussing whether the Commission could invest in 2014 the amount of up to 92 million, so that this would then, we would join forces and have the instrument operate in a larger volume. But this is an ongoing discussion. But basically, in any event, the EU budget contribution of 92 million is destined to be used again through an EU level facility, providing guarantees, funded investments, and capacity building to social enterprise investors at the national and regional level. So again, the architecture is roughly the same. Of course, this is not microfinance. This is investment in social enterprise. So as you see in the arrow on the right hand side, the investment size can be larger. The regulation speaks of investments of up to 500,000 euros. And the definition of the social enterprise is roughly similar to what I described earlier. So it's this budgetary instrument will be able to support non-listed social enterprises with a limitation on the turnover and balance sheet of maximum 30 million euros. This will be complemented again with technical assistance to prospective social enterprise investors, so to again strengthen the capacity of the intermediaries. And I believe this is, of course, of interest to many of you. Now, I would like to really emphasize this. So far, when I spoke about Progress Microfinance and the future Program for Social Change and Innovation, I spoke about financial instruments which are important because they cover the whole European Union and are managed at the European level. But you saw Progress Microfinance today, 203 million euros. Then we have 90 million plus 90 million, okay, plus potential co-investment from the EIB. But we speak of tens or hundreds of million euros. But there is a much larger budget, much larger part of the EU budget that will be available in the future period from 2014 till 2020. And these are the structural funds. There are two so-called structural funds. The first is called the European Regional Development Fund. The other one is called the European Social Fund. Many of you may know this. Maybe this is obvious, but these are very important financial resources in the EU budget. They support a range of objectives, of course: energy efficiency, transport, research, development, innovation, SME development in case of the Regional Development Fund, and then the European Social Fund focuses on basically human capital development, increasing labor force participation, social inclusion. But I want to highlight that both of these funds specifically envisage for the future period from 2014 till 2020 an investment priority on promoting the social economy and social enterprise. And not only that, so there is specific attention paid to the possibility of promoting and supporting the development of social economy and social enterprise with the structural funds. And of course, social enterprises can also contribute to the achievement of other objectives like youth employment, active aging, regional development at large. So there is a number of ways in which using structural funds through social enterprises would be justified. And one advantage is also that a social enterprise does not always need a subsidy. A social enterprise might be very content with receiving repayable investment in the form of equity, mezzanine loans, or guarantees. So this is also a possibility to use the structural funds in a different way than they have traditionally been used. Traditionally, the structural funds have been used through subsidies for all kinds of investment projects. But there is, of course, when it comes to social enterprise, which operates on the basis of a business model and just operates on the market, there is a possibility to use this money in a revolving way. What I want to stress is that now, today, the various national and regional authorities, so the ministries of labor and social affairs, the ministries of regional development, or the regional governments, now they are preparing the 7-year programs which will set out how they will use the money allocated to them from the European budget, so from the European Regional Development Fund, from the European Social Fund. Now, national and regional governments are preparing their plans of how they plan to spend this money over the next 7 years. So now definitely is a time for financiers of social enterprises, for social economy organizations, for FEDEA members to speak to the national ministries, to the regional governments, to explain to them your way of supporting social economy and social enterprise, to explain what you can achieve on the basis of investing through social enterprise, on the basis of a business model, how actually you can contribute to job creation, to social inclusion. And explain to them that maybe it would be worth designing the 7-year programs in a way that specifically support to social enterprises, or to by implication to financial intermediaries like yourself would be justified in those 7-year programs, so that they include this in the 7-year program which they are drafting now. I have just a very simplified scheme of how revolving financial instruments can function in the context of the structural funds programs. It works already today in terms of in the area of SME financing, in the area of urban development or energy efficiency. Already today, many national and regional governments are using the money from the European structural funds in a repayable way. So they don't just give them out as subsidies, but they create revolving funds. The graph, I think, speaks for itself. It starts from the national or regional ministry, which is responsible for the program, for managing the EU funding. They can contribute money to a revolving fund with a particular mission. So today it's for energy efficiency or for SME development. In the future period, they could set up specifically a fund, or they could contribute to a fund specifically focusing on for example, social economy and social enterprise. And such a fund, of course, in the given country or region could invest into individual social enterprises. So you see that we have these relatively small EU-level instruments like Progress Microfinance, which exists today. We will continue to have such instruments in the future period over the next 7 years under the Program for Social Change and Innovation, 90 million for microfinance, 90 million for social enterprise. But also there is a very large amount of funding available through the EU27, where the investment decisions are taken by the national or regional governments, and these are the European structural funds, and this is potentially a very significant source of funding or of first loss pieces in funds aiming to support social enterprises, etc. So just to conclude, on each of the instruments that I've been describing, how could you as FEBEA members engage in the coming months? Of course, with the USEF, with the EU level brand for the European Social Entrepreneurship Fund, it is evident that now it being adopted in legislation, you can consider whether you could benefit from this label if you create a fund that complies with the requirements of this label, you then obtain this label, you can market such a fund to investors, and this was of course the purpose of creating the label. So this is now available. In terms of Progress Microfinance, the facility that exists today, there is financing still available. The EIF is still building the pipeline to invest the remainder of the facility, so they are available, of course, for further contacts, and Sai will actually be presenting on this subject just after me. And for the future instruments, the Program for Social Change and Innovation, we will be during this year launching some technical assistance for social enterprise investors to develop the capacity, and also to trying to already build now the pipeline for the investment from the 90 million instrument we will have in the future period. And when it comes to the structural funds, so the European Social Fund, European Regional Development Fund, these investment programs are being designed nationally or regionally. So what you can do is certainly today speak to national ministries, speak to regional governments, whoever is in charge of preparing these 7-year programs these programs for the next 7 years, and explain to them the rationale for possibly creating revolving financial instruments in this area. Explain that this can possibly deliver greater value for money than just investing through pure subsidies. The European Commission has been consistently drawing attention to this. The European Commission has been promoting a repayable financial instrument already in this period, and will continue to do so, of course, in the future period. But the authorities that actually manage the European structural funds are the national and regional authorities. I hope this presentation was useful as an overview of the regulatory and the budgetary instruments that the EU has to support social economy and social enterprise. I'll be, of course, very happy to answer questions you may have, either immediately or later in the